The alarm sounded at 0300 hours, pulling Commander Minho from his sleep. He sat up in his quarters at the United Nations Space Command headquarters, rubbing his eyes. The communication device on his wrist flashed red. Priority signal. That meant something important was happening. He dressed quickly and walked down the quiet corridors to the command center. The night shift crew looked stressed. Hana, the communications officer, waved him over to her station. Her face was pale. "Sir, we received a distress signal. It's from outside our sector. Way outside." Minho leaned over her shoulder to look at the screen. The signal had traveled for months to reach Earth. It came from a species called the Valorians, from somewhere in the Andromeda sector. He had heard of them before. Reptilian people. They kept to themselves mostly. "Play it," he said. The hologram appeared above the console. A tall creature stood there, covered in green and brown scales. His eyes were large and dark. He wore some kind of formal robes. The translator processed his words into English. "I am Threxus, ambassador of the Valorian Union. I speak to any civilization that receives this message. Our world is dying. A plague has infected our planet. We call it the gray rot. It spreads through our soil, our water, our air. Our people are dying by the millions. We have tried everything. Our science cannot stop it." The ambassador paused. He looked tired, defeated. "We have sent this message to 12 spacefaring civilizations. We ask for any assistance you can provide. Medical supplies, research data, anything that might help us survive. We know this is much to ask. We will remember any kindness shown to us in this dark time." The message ended. The hologram disappeared. Hana looked at Minho. "That was sent 3 months ago, sir. I checked the response logs. 7 species have already replied. They sent medical supplies, some scientific papers. One species sent a ship with 50 doctors." "Only 50? Minho frowned. "That's more than most sent, sir. The Crystalline Collective sent them prayers and good wishes. Nothing else." Minho felt something twist in his chest. He had seen disasters before. Earthquakes, floods, plagues. He had watched humans rush to help each other, no matter the cost. But this was different. This was an entire alien species facing extinction, and the galaxy was sending them thoughts and prayers. "Wake up, Admiral Ji-ho, and get Dr. Yuna on the line. I don't care if she's sleeping." "Sir, it's 3 in the morning. I know what time it is. Do it now." Within 20 minutes, the command center filled with people. Ji-ho arrived in his uniform, looking alert despite the hour. Yuna came in wearing casual clothes, her medical bag slung over her shoulder out of habit. Minho played the message for them. Ji-ho crossed his arms. "How far away are they?" 2 weeks if we push the engines hard," Hana said. "Their planet is designated Valora Prime in our star charts." Yuna was already working on her tablet. "Gray rot. I need to see their medical data. This could be bacterial, viral, fungal. Could be something we've never seen before. I'll need a full research team. Maybe 40,000 medical personnel. No, make it 50,000. Ji-ho raised an eyebrow. 50,000. "Doctor, that's a lot of people." "An entire species is dying, Admiral. I need enough people to make a difference." Minho nodded. "You'll have them." "Ji-ho, how many ships can we send?" The Admiral thought for a moment. "If we repurpose our hospital ships and convert some of the cargo vessels, maybe 35 ships. We could push it to 40 if we pull from the defense fleet." "Do it. I want a full response ready in 1 week." Yuna looked up from her tablet. "Minho, this will cost billions, maybe trillions. The Council won't approve this." "Then I'll make them approve it. These people are dying, Yuna. They asked for help." "They asked 12 species for help," Ji-ho said quietly. "And got almost nothing. They're not expecting much from us either." Minho walked to the communication console. "Hana, open a response channel. I want to reply to Ambassador Threxus." "Yes, sir." The recording light blinked on. Minho stood straight, looking into the camera. "Ambassador Threxus, this is Commander Minho of United Nations Space Command, representing Earth. We received your message. We understand your situation. We are preparing a full response fleet. We will bring medical teams, research scientists, supplies, and equipment. We will bring everything we have that might help. We will be there in 2 weeks. All of us. He paused. Hold on. Help is coming. The message was sent. It would take months to reach Valora Prime, but it would get there. Jiho looked concerned. All of us? Minho, they're going to think we mean a small team. That's what everyone else sent. Let them think what they want. We'll show them what we mean when we arrive. The next week was chaos. Minho stood before the UN Security Council and explained his plan. Some members argued. They said it was too expensive, too risky. They said humanity should focus on their own problems first. Minho listened to all of it. Then he spoke. When I was a boy, my village flooded. The river broke through the walls. People were drowning. Neighbors from 3 towns over came to help. They didn't know us. They didn't owe us anything. But they came because we needed help. That's what people do. That's what humans do. Are we really going to be the species that does less than we expect from ourselves? The council approved the mission. Barely. But it was enough. Yuna assembled her medical teams. Volunteers came from every hospital on Earth. Jiho converted warships into floating hospitals. Engineers loaded terraforming equipment onto cargo ships. Someone suggested bringing farmers and agricultural experts. Someone else said they should bring teachers too, in case Valorian children were falling behind in school. The mission grew bigger every day. 2 weeks later, 42 ships lifted off from Earth. Inside them were 200,000 human volunteers, doctors, nurses, scientists, engineers, soldiers, teachers, farmers, regular people who wanted to help. As the fleet left orbit, other alien species watched. Their ambassadors sent confused messages to Earth. Why are the humans sending so many ships? Why are they spending so much money? What do they want from the Valorians? Nari, Earth's diplomat, replied to each message with the same answer. They asked for help. We're giving it to them. That's all. On the bridge of the lead ship, Minho looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, the Valorians were dying. They thought help meant a few supplies and some kind words. They had no idea what was coming. Jiho stood beside him. Think they're ready for us? Minho smiled. No, but they will be. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. The stars stretched into lines of light. Earth disappeared behind them. 200,000 humans were going to save a species they had never met. Because someone asked for help. And humans take that seriously. The fleet traveled through space for 2 weeks. Inside the ships, 200,000 humans prepared for the mission ahead. Nobody was sitting around relaxing. Everyone worked. Yuna set up research labs in 3 of the ships. She gathered her best scientists and showed them everything known about the gray rot. It wasn't much. The Valorians had sent some data, but it was incomplete. They were too busy dying to run proper studies. We need to understand this plague before we arrive, Yuna told her team. I want every possible angle explored. Bacterial, viral, fungal, genetic, even environmental factors, everything. Sora, a young geneticist, raised her hand. Dr. Yuna, what if it's not biological? What if it's chemical or radiation-based? Then we figure that out too. I don't care if we have to work 24 hours a day. We're going to find an answer. The research teams worked in shifts. When one group slept, another took over. The labs never went dark. In the engineering sections, Taeyang was having his own meetings. He was in charge of the terraforming teams. His job was to fix the planet itself, not just the people on it. The gray rot has destroyed their farmland, he explained to his crew. Even if we cure the people, they'll starve without food. We need to restore their soil, clean their water, make their planet livable again. One of the engineers looked worried. Sir, terraforming takes decades, sometimes centuries. Then we'll do it faster. We have new technology, new methods. We'll make it work. Taeyang's teams started building large machines in the cargo holds, atmospheric processors, soil regenerators, water purification systems, everything they might need. On the command deck, Admiral Jiho was dealing with a different problem. The military ships in the fleet were designed for war, not rescue missions. He had to figure out how to turn warships into hospitals. Remove the weapons from Base 7 through 12, he told his officers. Replace them with medical equipment. The ammunition storage can become supply rooms. The barracks will be patient wards. Admiral, this will leave us defenseless if we're attacked. Jiho nodded. I know, but we're not going there to fight. We're going to save lives. The weapons are just taking up space we need. The crews worked hard. Within days, the warships transformed. Where missile launchers once stood, there were now surgical rooms. Where soldiers once slept, sick Valorians would soon rest. Donghae was responsible for making sure everyone had what they needed. He was the logistics coordinator, which meant he tracked every box, every supply, every piece of equipment in the fleet. It was a massive job. He worked with his team day and night. Food for 200,000 humans. Medical supplies for millions of Valorians. Construction materials. Fuel. Everything had to be organized and ready to use the moment they arrived. We're running low on antivirals in Section 4, one of his assistants reported. Transfer some from Section 7. They have extra. And check the backup supplies on ships 15 through 20. I want a complete inventory by tomorrow. Sir, that's going to take all night. Then we work all night. People are counting on us. Back on Earth, the mission was causing controversy. News reporters talked about it constantly. Some people thought it was wonderful. Others thought it was a waste of money and resources. The economy was struggling. Earth had redirected so many resources to the mission that some industries were shutting down. Factories that made consumer goods switched to making medical supplies. Ships that carried cargo between Earth and Mars were reassigned to the rescue fleet. People argued in the streets, in cafes, in government buildings. We should take care of our own people first, some said. We are taking care of people, others replied. Just because they're not human doesn't mean they don't matter. The arguments grew heated, but the volunteers kept working. They didn't care about the politics. They cared about saving lives. Meanwhile, the galaxy was watching. Alien species tracked the human fleet with their sensors. They saw 42 ships traveling at high speed toward Valora Prime. They saw the size of the human response, and they were confused. The Crystalline Collective sent a message to Earth. Why are you sending so many ships? What do you want from the Valorians? Are you planning to colonize their planet? Nari, the human diplomat, replied calmly. We don't want anything. They need help. We're helping them. But the cost, the alien ambassador said. You're spending trillions of credits. You're disrupting your entire economy for strangers. This makes no sense. It makes perfect sense to us, Nari said. Someone is drowning. You don't debate the cost of the rope. You throw it to them. The ambassador disconnected, still confused. Other species sent similar messages. All of them asked the same basic question. Why? Nari answered each one patiently. But she could tell they didn't understand. To them, helping others was a transaction. You gave a little, got something in return. You didn't sacrifice your own well-being for strangers. Humans saw it differently. On the Valorian homeworld, Threxus received the human reply. He watched Minho's message 3 times, trying to understand it. All of us, the human had said. Help is coming. Threxus assumed that meant maybe 100 people, perhaps a few ships. That would already be more than anyone else had sent. Then the Valorian sensors detected the human fleet. 42 ships, moving fast. Threxus called an emergency meeting with the Valorian Council. They gathered in the capital city in a building that was half ruined by the plague. Gray rot covered the walls. The air smelled like decay. The humans are sending 42 ships, Threxus told the council. Our sensors confirm it. The council members looked at each other. One of them spoke. That's an invasion force. Are they coming to conquer us? We're too weak to fight. Their message said they're coming to help, Threxus said. But he didn't sound sure. Why would they send so many ships just to help? What do they want from us? Nobody had an answer. The Valorians prepared for the humans to arrive, but they didn't know what to prepare for. Was this a rescue mission? A takeover? Something else entirely? The gray rot continued spreading. Every day, more Valorians died. Their cities crumbled. Their farms failed. Their hope faded. But the human fleet kept coming. Inside the lead ship, Minho stood on the bridge and looked at the navigation display. They were 1 day away from Valora Prime now, 1 day away from beginning the real work. Yuna joined him. She looked exhausted. She had been working in the labs for 14 days straight. "I've been studying their medical data," she said. "This plague is bad, Minho. Really bad. I'm not sure we can fix it. We'll find a way. What if we can't? What if we travel all this way and fail?" Minho looked at her. "Then we fail trying. That's better than not trying at all." Yuna nodded. She went back to her lab. Jiho approached from the other side of the bridge. "The fleet is ready, Commander. Medical team standing by. Engineers ready to deploy. Everyone knows their jobs." "Good. Send a message to the Valorians. Tell them we arrive tomorrow. Tell them to prepare." The message was sent. On Valora Prime, Threxus received it. The humans would be there tomorrow. He still didn't know what that meant, but he was about to find out. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Valora Prime appeared in front of them. A beautiful planet with purple skies and green oceans. But the continents were covered in gray. The plague was visible from space. Minho looked at the dying world and felt his determination strengthen. "All ships," he said into the communication system. "Begin deployment. Let's get to work." 200,000 humans prepared to save a world. The human fleet entered orbit around Valora Prime. The planet looked worse up close. Gray patches covered 3 of the 5 continents. The oceans had a sickly color near the coastlines. Atmospheric readings showed contamination levels that made Yuna's medical teams nervous. "This is bad," she muttered, studying the data. "Worse than I thought." Minho stood beside her on the bridge. "Can we work in this environment?" "We'll have to, but everyone needs protective suits, at least until we understand how the plague spreads." The first shuttle descended toward the planet. Minho, Yuna, and Jiho went together to meet the Valorian leaders. As they broke through the purple clouds, they saw the capital city below. It had been beautiful once. Now, gray rot covered the buildings like a disease. Streets were empty. The few Valorians they saw looked thin and sick. The shuttle landed in a plaza outside the government building. Threxus waited there with a small group of officials. They all wore robes that looked too big for them. The plague had made them weak. Minho stepped off the shuttle first. He walked toward Threxus and stopped a respectful distance away. He didn't know Valorian customs, so he simply bowed his head. "Ambassador Threxus, I'm Commander Minho. We're here to help." Threxus stared at him. Then he looked up at the sky, where the human fleet was visible as small dots in orbit. 42 ships. The ambassador's scales changed color slightly, which Minho's translator said meant confusion or fear. "You brought all of those ships for us?" "Yes, we brought medical teams, scientists, engineers, supplies, everything we could fit." "How many humans are up there?" 200,000. Threxus made a sound that the translator couldn't process. His legs seemed to shake. One of his officials caught him before he fell. Yuna stepped forward. "Ambassador, are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" 200,000, Threxus repeated. "You brought 200,000 of your people to help us." "Strangers?" "You're not strangers," Minho said. "You're people who need help." Threxus looked at Minho with his large dark eyes. "You don't understand. In our galaxy, when someone provides aid at this scale, it creates a debt. A debt that can never be repaid. Our species would belong to you. We would be servants to humanity for generations," Minho frowned. "We don't want servants. We want you to survive. But the debt?" "There is no debt," Yuna interrupted. "We're not keeping track. We're not asking for payment. We're just helping." The Valorian officials talked among themselves in their own language. The translator picked up fragments, words like impossible and insane and why. Threxus finally spoke again. "I don't understand your species, but our people are dying. If you truly want to help with no debt, then please, begin. We have hospitals that need doctors, fields that need healing, cities that need hope. Then that's what we'll give you," Minho said. The deployment began immediately. Shuttles descended from the fleet like rain. They landed in cities across the 3 infected continents. Medical teams rushed out wearing protective suits. They carried equipment, supplies, medicines. Hyun was a combat medic who had volunteered for the mission. He led one of the first teams into a Valorian hospital. The building was falling apart. Gray rot covered the walls. The smell was terrible. Inside, Valorian doctors tried to help their patients. But they looked exhausted, defeated. They didn't have enough medicine, enough equipment, enough hope. Hyun walked up to the nearest Valorian doctor. Through his translator, he said, "We're here to help. Show us where you need us most." The Valorian doctor just stared at him. Then tears ran down her scaled face. She pointed to a ward full of dying patients. Hyun's team got to work. They set up new medical equipment. They administered medicines. They treated patients who hadn't seen a doctor in weeks. The Valorian medical staff watched in amazement as the humans worked with practiced efficiency. In another city, Jiwon led a team of engineers to assess the damaged infrastructure. Buildings were collapsing. Water systems had failed. Power grids were offline. "This is worse than the report said," one of her engineers muttered. "Then we have more work to do," Jiwon replied. "Start with the water treatment plants. People can't heal if they don't have clean water." Her teams spread out across the city. They repaired pipes, fixed generators, stabilized buildings. Valorian workers tried to help, but many were too weak from the plague. "Please rest," Jiwon told them. "We can handle this. You need to save your strength." "But this is our city," a Valorian worker said. "We should be the ones fixing it." "You will," Jiwon said gently. "After you're healthy again. Let us help you get there." In orbit, Yuna worked with Sora and the research teams. They had samples of the gray rot now. Real samples. They studied it under every kind of microscope and scanner they had. "It's definitely biological," Sora said. "But it's strange. It targets Valorian DNA specifically, almost like it was designed too." "A bioweapon?" Yuna asked. "Maybe, a very old one. The Valorians might have been at war once, and someone created this to destroy them. Can we stop it?" "I don't know yet. Give me time." Down on the planet, Taeyang and his terraforming teams were studying the soil. The gray rot had destroyed the nutrients. Nothing would grow. Even if they cured the people, they would starve. "We need to replace the topsoil on every farm," Taeyang said. "Completely replace it, and treat the groundwater. This is going to take months." "Then we have months," his supervisor said. "Get started." Giant machines were brought down from the cargo ships. They dug into the gray earth and removed the infected soil. They treated the ground underneath. They brought clean soil from uninfected areas and spread it across the farmland. Valorian farmers watched in amazement. One old farmer approached Taeyang as he worked. "Why are you doing this?" the farmer asked. "You could be home, safe, comfortable. Why are you here in the dirt fixing our world?" Taeyang paused his work and looked at the farmer. "Because you can't fix it alone, and everyone deserves to eat. It's simple." "It's not simple," the farmer said. "Nothing about this is simple." Taeyang smiled. "Maybe not, but it's right." As the days passed, the Valorians began to understand something. The humans weren't just sending help, they were giving everything. Human doctors worked until they collapsed from exhaustion. Human engineers lived in temporary shelters so Valorians could keep their homes. Human farmers ate basic rations so more food could go to the sick. This wasn't a calculated political move. This wasn't a transaction. This was sacrifice. Word spread across the planet. Stories of humans who worked 20-hour days. Humans who gave their own blood for medical treatments. Humans who held dying Valorian children and told them everything would be okay. The galactic community was watching too. Other alien species monitored the situation with their long-range sensors. They saw what the humans were doing, and they were disturbed. "The humans are irrational," the Crystalline Collective told their council. "They're destroying their economy for strangers. This is madness." "Or it's something we don't understand," one counselor replied. "Something we've forgotten. if we've ever known it at all. On Valora Prime, Threxus walked through a hospital that had been transformed by human effort. A week ago, it was full of dying patients and hopeless doctors. Now it was clean, organized. Patients were being treated. Some were even recovering. He found Una in one of the wards, checking on patients. She looked exhausted. Her protective suit was stained, but she was smiling at a young Valorian who had just woken up after 3 days of fever. "Dr. Una," Threxus said. She turned to him. "Ambassador, how can I help you?" "I wanted to thank you, all of you, but I don't have words that seem big enough." Una walked over to him. "You don't need big words. Just get better. That's all the thanks we need." "I'm trying to understand," Threxus said. "Your species confuses me. Everyone in the galaxy operates on debt and leverage. Everyone trades favors like currency. But you just give. Why?" Una thought about it for a moment. "Because we can. Because you need it. Because if we were dying and asked for help, we'd want someone to come for us too. It's really not complicated." "To us it is," Threxus said. "We've never seen anything like this." "Then maybe it's time the galaxy learned a new way," Una said. She went back to her patients. Threxus watched her work. Then he left the hospital and looked up at the purple sky. Somewhere up there, 200,000 humans were working to save his species, for no reason except that his people had asked for help. And humans apparently took that seriously. 6 months passed. The human teams worked without stopping. Some progress was made. The gray rot spread slower now. Fewer Valorians died each day. But they weren't winning. Not yet. Una barely slept anymore. She moved between the orbital labs and the planet's surface, checking on patients and reviewing research. Sora and the science teams worked beside her, running test after test. Then, on a quiet morning in the 7th month, Sora made a discovery. "Dr. Una, you need to see this," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. Una rushed to Sora's station. The young geneticist pulled up data on the screen. Charts and graphs filled the display. "I think I found it. The gray rot is a modified virus. Someone engineered it a long time ago, probably as a weapon. It attacks Valorian DNA at the cellular level. But look at this." Sora highlighted a section of the genetic code. "There's a protein sequence here that the virus needs to reproduce. If we can block this protein, the virus dies. And I found a way to block it." Una felt her heart race. "You found a cure?" "Not exactly a cure. More like a treatment. It won't reverse damage that's already done. But it will stop the virus from spreading. It will save everyone who isn't too far gone." "That's incredible. What do you need to make it?" Sora's expression changed. She looked uncertain. "That's the problem. The treatment requires a specific enzyme. We can synthesize it, but only in small amounts. Not enough for millions of people." "There has to be another way," Una said. "There is. But you're not going to like it." Sora pulled up another screen. "The enzyme can be produced in large quantities using human genetic material as a catalyst, specifically human bone marrow. We would need to extract marrow from donors, process it, and use it to manufacture the enzyme." Una understood immediately. "How much would we need?" "A lot. Each donor would need to give samples every week for months, maybe longer. The extraction process is painful and exhausting. It would require thousands of donors working in shifts." "How painful?" Sora hesitated. "Very. The donors would need days to recover between extractions. They'd be weak, tired, in pain most of the time, but it wouldn't cause permanent damage." Una closed her eyes. She thought about the 200,000 volunteers who came to Valora Prime. People who left their homes and families to save strangers. People who already worked themselves to exhaustion every single day. Now she had to ask them to suffer. She called a meeting with Minho and Jiho. They gathered in a conference room on one of the orbital stations. Una explained Sora's discovery. She explained what it would cost. Minho listened carefully. When she finished, he asked, "How many donors would we need?" "At least 5,000. Maybe 10,000 to be safe. They'd work in rotating shifts. Each person would donate every 2 weeks. And this would save the Valorians?" "Everyone we can reach in time, yes. Minho stood up. Then we ask for volunteers. Minho, you don't understand. This isn't like giving blood. This is painful. These people would be in pain for months. I understand perfectly, Minho said, and I'll be the first volunteer. Make the announcement. The message went out to all 200,000 humans on the mission. Yuna explained the treatment. She explained what it required. She explained the pain and the exhaustion and the months of suffering. She asked for 5,000 volunteers. Every single human volunteered. All 200,000. Yuna had to set up a lottery to choose who would donate first. People were upset when they weren't selected. They wanted to help. They wanted to give more. The extraction facility was built in one of the orbital stations. Medical teams prepared the equipment. The first group of donors came in. Hyun was among them. The combat medic had been working in Valorian hospitals for 6 months. He had seen thousands of sick people. He had held children as they died. Now he had a chance to save them. The extraction was worse than Yuna had described. The pain was intense. Hyun gripped the sides of the medical chair and tried not to scream. It felt like his bones were being pulled apart from the inside. When it was over, he could barely walk. Medical staff helped him to a recovery room. He would need 3 days to rest before his next shift. 3 days when other volunteers would take his place. In the recovery room, he met other donors. They all looked exhausted, pale, in pain, but they were smiling. "We're doing it," one of them said. "We're actually saving them." Production of the treatment began. The first batches were sent down to the planet. Valorian doctors administered it to their sickest patients. Within days, the results were clear. The gray rot stopped spreading in treated patients. Their symptoms improved. They started to recover. Word spread across the planet. Hope returned. But the Valorians learned about the cost. They learned that humans were suffering to create the treatment. They learned about the pain, the exhaustion, the sacrifice. A group of Valorian leaders came to the orbital station. They demanded to meet with Minho. "You have to stop," Threxy said. His scales were dark with emotion. "We can't allow this. Your people are hurting themselves for us." Minho looked at him calmly. "They volunteered. Nobody forced them." "But why? Why would they choose pain? For us?" "Because it's working," Minho said. "Your people are recovering. That's worth some pain." "It's not your pain to bear." "Yes, it is. We chose to be here. We chose to help, and we choose to see this through." Threxus turned to Yuna. "Doctor, please, make them stop. This is too much." Yuna shook her head. "I can't make them stop, and I wouldn't if I could. They're saving your species. That's what they came here to do." During this time, Jiho made another discovery. His teams had been studying the gray rot from a military perspective. They found something the medical teams had missed. "It's definitely a weapon," Jiho told Minho. "The virus was designed specifically to target Valorian DNA. Someone created this on purpose, probably during some ancient war we don't know about. Can you trace where it came from?" "No, it's too old. Whoever made it is probably long gone. But this wasn't an accident. Someone tried to exterminate the Valorians on purpose." The news spread to the Valorian Council. They were horrified to learn their near extinction was caused by an ancient enemy. But they were also moved by humanity's response. Humans were suffering to undo damage from a war that had nothing to do with them. On the planet's surface, Taiyang's terraforming was showing results. The first farms were producing crops again. Clean water flowed through repaired treatment plants. Cities had power and clean air. But Taiyang pushed himself too hard. He worked 20-hour days in the toxic environment. Even with protective equipment, the exposure was dangerous. He collapsed one day while inspecting a soil treatment site. His team rushed him to a medical facility. The doctor said he had been poisoned by long-term exposure to the gray rot. He would recover, but he needed rest. Taiyang refused to stay in bed. "The work isn't done," he said. "You'll die if you keep going," the doctor told him. "Then I'll die working. These people need their planet back." Eventually, Minho ordered Taeyang to rest. It was a direct command. Taeyang had no choice but to obey. As he recovered, Valorian farmers came to visit him. They brought him food. flowers from the newly restored fields. They thanked him for sacrificing his health for their world. I didn't sacrifice anything, Taeyang said. I just did my job. Your job didn't require you to poison yourself, one farmer said. You chose to keep working even when it hurt you. That's not a job. That's love. Taeyang didn't know what to say to that. By the 8th month, the transformation was visible. Half the infected areas were clean. The gray rot retreated. Valorians who had been dying were now recovering. Children who had never known health were running and playing. But the cost to the humans was severe. 10,000 donors were rotating through the extraction facility. They were all exhausted, pale, in constant pain. Medical teams worked to keep them healthy, but the strain was showing. Yuna watched one of her donors stumble out of the extraction room. He could barely stand. His name was Daeshim, a young engineer who had volunteered for the mission straight out of university. How are you feeling? Yuna asked. Like my bones are made of fire, Daeshim said with a weak smile. But it's worth it. Did you see the recovery numbers? We're saving thousands every day. You should rest longer between sessions. Can't. Too many people still need help. I'll rest when it's done. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. She had sent these people to suffer, but they did it willingly, gladly even. That night, she found Minho standing on an observation deck, looking down at Valora Prime. The planet's gray patches were shrinking. Green and purple were returning. We're winning, she said. At a price, Minho replied. They don't complain. Not once have I heard someone say they regret coming. I know, that's what makes this so hard. They'd give everything if we asked them to. Then we better make sure their sacrifice means something, Yuna said. Below them, on the planet's surface and in the orbital stations, 200,000 humans continued their work. They were tired, in pain, far from home. But they were saving an entire species, and they would see it through to the end. 1 year after the human fleet arrived, Valora Prime was healing. The gray rot was gone from 2 entire continents. The 3rd continent was nearly clean. Valorian hospitals were full of recovering patients instead of dying ones. Farms produced food again. Cities had power and clean water. The transformation was remarkable. A planet that had been dying was now returning to life. But the humans were exhausted. A full year of non-stop work had drained them. The medical teams looked thin and tired. The engineers moved slower. The donors who gave their bone marrow were pale and weak, even with rest periods. Minho called a meeting with his senior staff. Yuna, Jiho, Taeyang, and others gathered in the command center. The Valorians can handle the rest themselves, Minho said. Their doctors know how to make the treatment now. Their engineers have learned our methods. It's time for us to go home. Not all of us, Taeyang said. Some should stay. Make sure the recovery continues. I'm planning to leave 3,000 volunteers who want to stay. The rest need to go back to Earth. They've given enough. Yuna nodded. More than enough. These people are heroes. Every single one of them. Preparations began for the departure. But first, the Valorians wanted to hold a ceremony. They insisted. It would be held in the capital city, in a plaza that had been destroyed by the plague. Human engineers had rebuilt it. Now it was beautiful again. Thousands of Valorians gathered. Millions more watched on screens across the planet. The human volunteers stood in formation, wearing their uniforms. They looked tired, but proud. Threxus stood on a platform. He had recovered from the gray rot. His scales were bright and healthy now. He looked strong again. People of Valora, he began. 1 year ago, we were dying. Our world was dying. We sent messages to 12 civilizations begging for help. Most sent us nothing. A few sent supplies. Only one sent us everything. He gestured to the humans. They came with 200,000 volunteers. They brought ships full of medicine and equipment. They worked every day for a year. They gave their blood and bone to save us. They poisoned themselves cleaning our planet. They did all of this for strangers, for people they had never met. Threxus paused. His voice grew stronger. We thought we understood the galaxy. We thought all relationships were transactions, debts to be repaid, favors to be traded. But the humans taught us something different. They taught us about sacrifice, about compassion, about giving without expecting anything in return. He looked directly at Minho. We cannot repay this debt. Not in 1,000 years. Not in 10,000. But we don't need to, because you tell us there is no debt. You gave us everything and asked for nothing. This is a concept we are still learning to understand. Threxus stepped down from the platform. He walked to Minho and did something that shocked every Valorian watching. He bowed. A full, deep bow of respect and gratitude. We choose to stand with humanity, Threxus said. Not as debtors, not as servants, but as friends, as family. If you ever need help, you only have to ask. We will come. All of us. Minho helped Threxus stand. We appreciate that. But we didn't do this to gain allies. We did it because it was right. We know. That's why we want to stand with you. The galaxy needs more of what you are. The ceremony continued. Valorian children gave flowers to the human volunteers. Families thanked them personally. There was music and food and celebration. But the moment that mattered most came later, when a young Valorian named Velix approached Sora. Velix was a scientist who had worked with Sora in the labs. I want to learn from your people, Velix said. I want to understand how you think, how you see the universe. Will you teach me? Sora smiled. Of course. We'll teach anyone who wants to learn. Then I will come to Earth with you, if you'll have me. Sora looked at Yuna, who nodded. We'd be honored to have you. Velix became the first Valorian to join a human crew, but not the last. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of Valorians asked to work with the humans. They wanted to learn, to understand, to become part of something bigger than themselves. News of what happened on Valora Prime spread across the galaxy. Every species heard about it. The story of humans who sacrificed everything to save strangers. The reactions were mixed. Some species were inspired. They started their own aid programs, trying to help others the way humans did. It was clumsy at first. They weren't used to giving without expecting something back. But they tried. Other species were afraid. They saw humanity as unpredictable, dangerous. A species that would exhaust their own resources for strangers might do anything. They couldn't be controlled or understood through normal diplomatic means. The Crystalline Collective called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss the human problem. Nari attended as Earth's representative. She sat calmly while other species argued. The humans are destabilizing the established order, one ambassador said. They don't follow the rules. They give too much. They care too much. It's dangerous. Dangerous to whom? Nari asked. To everyone. What if other species start expecting the same level of help? What if they demand it? The humans have set an impossible standard. It's only impossible if you don't try, Nari said. We proved that helping others doesn't require wealth or advanced technology. It requires will, compassion, the decision to do what's right instead of what's easy. But at what cost? Another ambassador argued. Your economy is damaged. Your people are exhausted. Was it worth it? Nari stood up. You want to know if it was worth it? Ask the Valorians. Ask the millions who would be dead without us. Ask their children who will grow up on a living planet instead of a dead one. Ask them if it was worth it. She looked around the council chamber. We're not asking anyone to do what we did. We're not demanding you change. But we're also not apologizing for who we are. If you need help, real help, you know how to reach us, and we'll come. Because that's what we do. And what do you want in return? The Crystalline Ambassador asked suspiciously. Nothing. That's what you don't understand. We want nothing except for people to survive and thrive. That's enough for us. The council meeting ended without resolution. Some species left inspired, others left worried. But everyone understood that something had changed in the galaxy. Humanity had shown a different way, and it couldn't be ignored. Back on Valora Prime, the human fleet prepared to depart. 3,000 volunteers stayed behind to help with the final stages of recovery. Taiyang was among them. So was Hyun. They wanted to see the job finished properly. The rest of the fleet loaded up and prepared for the journey home. The Valorians gathered in cities across the planet to watch them leave. They waved. They cried. They thanked the sky as the ships lifted off. On the lead ship, Minho stood on the bridge with Yuna and Jaiho. They looked down at Valora Prime as they climbed into orbit. The planet was green and purple and blue again, beautiful and alive. "We did it," Yuna said quietly. "They did it," Minho corrected. "The 200,000 who worked every day, the 10,000 who gave their bone marrow, the 3,000 staying behind. They're the heroes." "All of humanity is," Jiho said. "This mission changed us too, showed us what we're capable of when we work together." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. Valora Prime disappeared behind them. Ahead was Earth. Home. Rest. But the mission's impact was just beginning. Back on Earth, Minho returned to his office at UN Space Command. He had been back for only 3 days when Hana rushed in. "Sir, we received another distress signal." Minho looked up from his reports. "From who?" "The Crystalline Collective." That was surprising. The Crystalline Collective had mocked humanity's response to Valora. They had called it wasteful and irrational. What do they want? Their core worlds are experiencing some kind of environmental collapse. They sent messages to the usual allies. Got the usual responses. Token aid. Diplomatic sympathy. Nothing substantial. Hana paused. Then they sent us a message. They said they need real help, the kind only humans seem to give. Minho smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. He pressed the communication button on his desk. "Get me Admiral Jiho and Dr. Yuna. Tell them we have another mission." "Sir, the volunteers just got home. They need rest." "I know. We'll ask for new volunteers. There are billions of humans on Earth. Plenty who want to help." "Do you think enough will volunteer?" Minho thought about the 200,000 who went to Valora Prime. He thought about every human who gave their time, their resources, their blood and bone to save strangers. "Yes," he said, "they'll volunteer, because someone needs help, and humans take that seriously." Within a week, a new fleet was being assembled. New volunteers signed up by the millions. They had watched what happened on Valora Prime. They wanted to be part of it. They wanted to help. The galaxy was learning something new. When someone asked humans for help, real help, they would get it. No matter the cost, no matter the distance, no matter who was asking, because humanity had decided that was who they were, and they would never be anything less. The first ship launched toward the Crystalline Collective's territory. Others would follow. And after that, there would be more missions. More species in need. More chances to help. The age of transactional aid was ending. The age of compassion was beginning. And it started because one species decided that when someone asks for help, you give it. All of it. Because that's what humans do. They take it seriously.